Senator Bernie Sanders recently released a video in which he supported a proposal by the Democratic Socialists of America that the state of California seize PG&E and the other investor-owned utilities and run the utilities themselves.
You propose essentially a federal takeover of the whole thing.
They believe that the state takeover would assure that there will be no more wildfires started by the grid. Senator Sanders, not to put too fine a point on it, you're wrong. You assume that public ownership somehow guarantees that a utility would always have perfect judgment. You're wrong. You assume that public ownership would significantly and quickly change the risks of fire from the grid. You're wrong. You assume that seizing the private utilities would be painless and easy and good for the public. You're wrong.
Our members at PG&E, outside line construction, and tree trimming are working 24 hours a day to restore the lines destroyed by last summer's fires and to harden the grid so there aren't any fires going forward. Dozens of our members lost their homes in those fires. They're now working to rebuild those homes, to rebuild their communities, and to rebuild the grid. They have no room for politicians criticizing the work they do and how they do it.
Local 1245 proudly represents the employees of every publicly owned utility in Northern California except two, as well as two investor-owned utilities. We know what we're talking about, and Senator Sanders, you're just plain wrong on this. Publicly owned utilities are capable of greatness, but they're also capable of bad management and bad luck, the same as investor-owned utilities.
During the energy crisis in 2001, we all know that Enron manipulated the power market to create artificial shortages and jack up prices. Enron wasn't alone. The publicly owned Los Angeles Department of Power and Water and the City of Redding Electric Utility did exactly the same thing.
In 2006, the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District tried to sign a 50-year power contract tying the district to a coal-burning power plant in Utah only hours before a ban on coal power went into effect.
In 2017, the publicly owned Trinity Public Utility District started the Helena fire that wasn't put out for 3 months, burning 22,000 acres and 72 homes.
Later in 2017, the publicly owned Los Angeles Department of Water and Power started the Creek Fire, which burned 15,000 acres and destroyed 60 homes.
Victims of last year's powerhouse fire near Santa Clarita are suing the Department of Water and Power.
This isn't Cinderella. There are no magic words that would change the fact that PG&E operates in high fire risk areas at a time of serious climate change. The existing risks don't care who owns the utility. They're there and they will be there.
Public ownership will not stop climate change, which has now made almost 50% of PG&E's service territory an extreme fire risk area.
Public ownership will not change the high rate of housing development in urban wildland interface zones, where there is a high risk of fire.
Public ownership will not change state or federal forestry practices, which contribute to the risk of fires. Nor would it bring back to life the estimated 150 million dead trees in PG&E's service territory.
Senator Sanders, I don't know where you got the idea that it would be easy or inexpensive for the state of California to buy PG&E.
Financial analysts have predicted that the price tag for PG&E could hit $100 billion, and that's just the beginning of what it would cost. We would lose billions of dollars each year in tax revenue PG&E now pays to state and local governments, and taxpayers would be directly responsible for paying for any future fires, which could add many billions of dollars more to the price of seizing PG&E.
Lastly, Senator Sanders, we know of your record supporting unions and workers, which is why we were surprised that you were taking a position here that would inevitably hurt workers. In the event of a public takeover, our members' pensions at PG&E would be frozen. They would have to start over in a public pension, and ultimately, that value of their pension would be decreased. Frankly, Senator, given your long history of supporting workers and unions, we were surprised by your indifference to the men and women who bring electric and gas service to Northern California.
Senator Sanders, when the Democratic Socialists in San Francisco told you that this was a good idea, they did not serve you well. It's a bad idea for everyone.